101.7 FM, the cutting edge of the Hudson Valley.
Hello and welcome. You're listening to Historic Huguenot Street's weekly program on WFNP The Edge, where we discuss New Paltz history and the history of the Hudson Valley. I'm Kaitlin Gallucci, and I'm the Communications Manager for Historic Huguenot Street. Last week, we talked about educational opportunities for college students, and tonight we're going to focus on all ages educational opportunities at Huguenot Street for students in kindergarten through high school. This is a great resource for teachers, parents, and those studying to become teachers. I'm sure by now you know that Historic Huguenot Street is a nonprofit National Historic Landmark District dedicated to preserving historic buildings and artifacts of the Huguenot Street families who founded New Paltz. However, Historic Huguenot Street is also chartered as an educational corporation by the University of the State of New York, so education is an important part of the organization's mission, and in fact, it always has been. Most people know of New Paltz as the home of SUNY New Paltz, but it was the Huguenot settlers here that began this tradition of education with the development of the first New Paltz school in 1828. And that building still stands today with the original stones intact. You can see it on North Front Street. It's Enchanted Toys, which is right between Bicycle Depot and Mexican Kitchen. The school evolved throughout the 19th century until it became known as the State Teachers College at New Paltz in 1938. And it became SUNY New Paltz, one of the founding schools in the SUNY system, in 1948. In keeping with the tradition of the Huguenot founders, Historic Huguenot Street supports education today in a variety of ways, in addition to the scholarships and internships we discussed last week. The organization currently offers 5 school programs year-round, which make great educational field trips for students from public schools or private schools, as well as homeschoolers. A number of programs were newly introduced just within the past couple of years, and Huguenot Street's school programs have been officially recognized by the New York State Cultural Education Department for adhering to the leading New York State and Common Core standards. So I'm just going to give a brief overview of the current school programs available on Huguenot Street. First, we have a program called Learning and Leisure in the 18th Century. This 2-hour program is suitable for students in kindergarten through 6th grade, and of course activities can be modified depending on the age and ability of your students. The purpose of this program is to allow children to consider the past and compare their own lifestyles to those of boys and girls during colonial times. It's referred to as Learning and Leisure because it covers both work and play. Students will go on what we call an in-the-moment tour, which means the tour is given by a quote-unquote character from colonial times. It has kind of a time travel feel to it, which is nice. They like it. They'll learn about schoolwork and chores and the challenges that colonial children faced. But they'll also get a chance to play a variety of colonial games, which I have to admit are extremely addicting. Our favorite is Graces, which is kind of like playing catch with sticks and a hoop. If you don't know what I mean, you can, there's a video of it on Historic Huguenot Street's Facebook page, which you should really watch. So at this point, kids get a chance to see more of the similarities and differences between contemporary life and colonial life. For instance, we don't exactly play Graces anymore, but we do still play bowling and cat's cradle and card games and marbles, and these games all have colonial roots, and even further, some of them have Native American roots. Students will also get to practice their quill writing, which of course is bound to be a little messy, but that's okay. That's why we're doing it as part of an educational program outside of the classroom. We'll be the ones to clean it up. It's a lot of fun. The kids love it, and of course, they get to take home their work. And again, all the details, including New York State standards and Common Core alignment, are on our website at huguenotstreet.org, and that's HUGUENOTSTREET.org. A similar program, and a new one, for grades 7 through 12 is called Life and Death in the 17th Century. These students also take an in-the-moment tour of the stone houses, but it's a little bit more elevated and a bit more realistic. It involves more comprehension skills. So students then will participate in an activity in the French church burial ground. on Huguenot Street, which is over 300 years old. It dates back to the very first settlers. There, they'll make inferences about historic figures based on observations of their gravestones and their surroundings. These students will also participate in a quill writing activity, which will involve an actual colonial schoolroom activity. And we also have another program, also for grades 7 through 12, called, I need to make sure I say this properly, it's in French, Qui voulez-vous? Close enough. This one offers high school students taking French, which is not me, the opportunity to utilize their writing, speaking, and listening skills while they participate in an activity that incorporates Historic Huguenot Street's impressive portraits collection. Another program that's relatively new, suitable for grades 4 to 8, is called A Moment in Time. This program allows students to use their critical thinking skills by analyzing the lives of people who lived on Huguenot Street in the past by gaining information from a variety of primary and secondary sources. During the program, students investigate the contents of 9 time capsules left behind by a Lenape woman, a Revolutionary War soldier, a slave, a Civil War soldier, and a 19th century schoolgirl. The students work in groups where they'll form theories about who each time capsule belongs to based on the items inside. There is a post-visit activity as well, which you can also find on the website. And the final program offered doesn't actually take place on our site, but it is an opportunity for your students in grades 3 through 5 to write letters to historic figures that lived on Huguenot Street during important moments in American history. Students can write to our mid-18th century friends Felicity and Henry, who lived at the beginning of the French and Indian War. They can write to Huguenot Street resident Sarah Elting during the American Revolution, or they can write to Civil War soldier and New Paltzer Johannes Lefevre about the Civil War. And these historic folks will all write back to your students. For examples of letters to and from our historic friends, check out huguenotstreet.org. And if you aren't covering the topics mentioned that these, the moments in time that these people are from, we also offer students the opportunity to correspond with Archie the Archives Bat. We mentioned him a little bit last week, and we'll go more in depth talking about Archie shortly. But Archie is very well-rounded, and he can talk about history and archives and anything about Huguenot Street. He is a contemporary, and he's a history buff. For details on all of these programs, you can visit huguenotstreet.org/school programs. That's huguenotstreet/school-programs. Or just go to huguenotstreet.org, navigate to the Education tab, click on School Programs. And a note for public schools in Dutchess and Ulster counties, you are eligible to apply for field trip grants through the community foundations of the Hudson Valley, and those grants can bring your students to Huguenot Street. More information on that is also on the website. I also can't forget to talk about Camp Huguenot, Historic Huguenot Street's annual summer camp. This one is really popular, and we have kids come back year after year. It's a week-long camp in July for kids ages 9 to 12. If you live in New Paltz or go to SUNY New Paltz, you may know that every summer Professor Joe Diamond's Archaeological Field School does a live archaeological dig on Huguenot Street. Well, while that's happening, we have a group of 9 to 12-year-olds also conducting a live archaeological dig on the site. And I mean authentically. They are not just digging in the dirt. Professor Diamond oversees this, and our campers are doing real archaeology by the book. You have to at a place like Huguenot Street because it's just rich with artifacts. You wouldn't believe the stuff that these kids find every year. They're finding artifacts left behind by the original Huguenot settlers and even the Native Americans who came before them. And they're not only learning the basic principles and practices of archaeology, they're discovering its modern-day significance and its relation to understanding past cultures. Of course, they're kids. They're not full-time archaeologists. And we offer a variety of activities during this summer camp, like colonial crafts and games. They'll learn to bake. They'll make candles the old-fashioned way. And they'll, of course, take tours of the historic stone houses. And I've been told that they'll even be going fishing this year for the first time. That's a new activity being added to Camp Huguenot. If your child or any kids you know have any interest in nature or the outdoors or history, this is really a great camp for them. Registration is open now, and you can find all the details at huguenotstreet.org/camp-huguenot. Discounted early bird registration ends on May 1st. Now, at this point, I'd like to introduce my two guests for the evening to discuss more events for young students on Huguenot Street. Tonight, I'll be speaking to Heather Ryan, a senior history major with minors in English and French at SUNY New Paltz and a current programming and education intern at Historic Huguenot Street. Hi, Heather.
Hello.
And I'll also be speaking to Sam Ruck, a senior English major and communications minor at SUNY New Paltz, and currently my communications and marketing intern. Hi, Sam.
Hi, Kaitlin.
Thank you both for joining me. So having spoken about Camp Huguenot just now, we recently ran a somewhat similar program, minus the archaeology, and that was Huguenot Street's first ever after-school program called Little Huguenots. Heather, you were one of the counselors for this program. First, can you tell us a little bit about your role as an intern at Huguenot Street?
As an intern at Huguenot Street with education and programming, basically any time that there's something going on with education and children, I'll be there helping out, just doing whatever needs to be done, and working with the kids, educating.
That's great. Can you tell us a little bit about the Little Huguenots program and like the goals of the program?
Yes, Little Huguenots was an after-school program for elementary school kids about age 1st and 2nd grade, and basically what we wanted to do was to give the children a sense of what it would have been like for them to live on Huguenot Street during the colonial time period, and ultimately we hope that they would see that their lives were not so different from the lives that children lived back then, because children will always be children. They'll always want to play, not always want to work. They'll want to work with their hands. So we had them baking and doing crafts and playing the colonial games that were mentioned earlier.
Cool. It definitely looked like a lot of fun. I know Sam and I were there pretty regularly taking photographs for social media. What would you say was one of your favorite parts of working with the Little Huguenots program?
Well, I love working with children in history because they just get so excited about everything, and just seeing their faces light up when they answered a question right is fantastic. Mm-hmm. But my favorite time was definitely when we figured out how to work the old hand crank apple peeler when they were making their apple pies by hand, and they were just blown away by it because they had never seen a machine like that could do so much so quickly without electricity, just by the power of their own hands.
Yeah, definitely. That's something too. We have a video of that, which is also on Huguenot Street's Instagram and Facebook page if you want to see those kids peeling apples. So that was a good one. So, I mean, what would you say is something that you hope that the kids take away from this program? I know you mentioned like kind of an appreciation for what life was like for kids in the past.
Yeah, that, and in general, I hope they got to understand that history can be a field that's not just, sitting in a room by yourself with a book and reading about the past. There are ways that you can go out and experience it today, and form like a real personal connection with it by doing things that people did in the past, or just trying to like putting your mind where they had been. Yeah,
absolutely. So that seemed to be a really successful program, and I believe. Do you know, is it still being decided if it's going to come back in the future, or?
Well, I hope it comes back because
I hope so too. I think
fantastic.
so. Yeah, it was really popular. So I would imagine it probably will come back in the fall. There is still information, even though the program is over, but there's still information about the Little Huguenots program on huguenotstreet.org. In case you want to read up before we open registration for whenever the next time is.
Yes, and I actually ran into one of the Little Huguenots on the street last night.
Oh my
when
gosh,
I was going out
did
to dinner,
you?
and she said that she missed the program so much.
Oh,
and
that's
I missed
so
her,
sweet.
so
Oh,
I think she might sign up again.
Oh, that's great. I know, and we can also mention, I recently saw you again. We had the Tea Time event with Valerie Tripp this past weekend, and we don't often, not all of our events, like regular Huguenot Street events, are necessarily entertaining for children, but this one obviously was. If you don't know, Valerie Tripp is the author of the American Girl books. And I know I was so happy because I saw a few of the kids from Little Huguenots at that program, so I realized, they must have, it's just nice to see when kids or even adults come for one thing and then they end up coming for other things.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
Get them hooked early when they're young.
Definitely, yeah. They're going to tell their parents where to bring them. Great. So, Sam, I want to talk to you a little bit about Archie the Archives Bat. I know this might sound a little bit unrelated, but Archie honestly goes perfectly with our programming for kids. He is a mascot, and like most mascots, he's really a kid at heart. So first, Sam, can you just tell us a little bit about your role at Historic Huguenot Street?
Yeah, sure. So, in terms of my internship, I am the communications and marketing intern, like that's been said. But what I do, mainly, I primarily run the Archie the Archives Bat Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all those social media accounts. So, Archie is kind of meant to be a face, more or less, for Historic Huguenot Streets that sort of bridges the age and content gap that's kind of present with most museums and historical societies. Because if you really think about it, the only people that are really going to see those social media accounts are people like historians or academics, and the web traffic would be kind of slow, or it would just be pictures that not everybody would be interested in. So
Right.
essentially what Archie does is he kind of posts fun facts about history and animals and anything that his little academic mind can think of. So, he's full of energy, and he's dedicated to providing at least an entertaining experience as well as an educational one. But
Yeah, he's a little bit nerdy for a little bat.
hey. Yeah.
No, it's great. He's gotten a lot of followers. It's working for him.
No, definitely. Yeah, kids really like him too, because it's fun to post silly and fun stuff at work. It's just kind of a refreshing change from most intern work.
Well, exactly, yeah, and that's something that, the Huguenot Street proper account obviously isn't going to do that.
Right.
And so, like you said, Archie kind of allows Huguenot Street to talk a little differently.
Yeah.
Of course, not that it's Huguenot Street. It's actually Archie.
Right.
So, can you tell me a little bit about, I know the story, but can you tell us all a little bit about Archie's origins?
Yes, I can. So, a few years ago, about 2 years ago, in 2014, apparently, or so the legend says, there was a little northern long-eared bat that was found in the archives on Huguenot Street. And basically, the bat was found among a stack of books, and the employees, it was a bat, but the employees thought it was cute enough to make a character based on the story, so... he's a very, very small bat, so Okay.
it's cute, not scary.
Cute, not an enormous vampire bat, but...
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, actually, we're just going to take a quick break, and then we'll be back with Sam and keep talking about Archie.
This is a test of the emergency alert system.
This has been a test of the emergency alert system.
Citizens of America, this is a message from feedthepig.org. Americans spent more money than they earned in 2005. This is the first negative savings rate in the U.S. since the Great Depression. America, we must start feeding the pig. On the 1st and the 15th, we must pay ourselves before we pay anyone or anything. We must make a budget. Even consider cutting up a credit card. Log on to feedthepig.org today. Find the benefits of saving for every stage of life. Brought to you by the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants and the Ad Council.
Attention artists and art enthusiasts. The Dorsky Museum Ambassadors presents the Bayou For You Art Festival, a weekend of art and knowledge right at New Paltz's very own Samuel Dorsky Museum. The event will be from Thursday, April 7th through Sunday, April 10th. Events include the Art History Association Spring Symposium on Thursday, a public lecture by modern and contemporary design scholar Jennifer Scanlon on Friday, a one-of-a-kind design panel on Saturday, a pop-up gallery exhibition featuring student achievements in functional design throughout the Hudson Valley on Saturday, and finally on Sunday, SUNY New Paltz students will present performative responses to works on display at the museum. For more date, time, and location information, feel free to visit newpaltz.edu/museum.
Hi, welcome back. You're listening to WFNP The Edge. I'm Kaitlin Gallucci. I'm speaking to SUNY New Paltz students Heather Ryan and Sam Ruck, both Historic Huguenot Street interns. Now, before the break, Sam, you were telling us a little bit about the origin of Archie the Archives Bat, Historic Huguenot Street's mascot. So, would you please continue?
Yes, of course. So, like I was saying, right around the time that Archie was created, basically Archie was just clip art of a bat. It wasn't very specific, and it was just kind of
Right.
silly. So, to sort of get Archie as a character off the ground and as kind of a face for Huguenot Street, there was an Archie the Archives Bat Presents Bat Awareness Day event at Huguenot Street. And the Hudson Highlands Nature Museum actually came to the site and gave a presentation about bats and endangered species. There's something called white nose syndrome in the United States that's affecting a lot of bat populations.
yeah.
And Archie occasionally tweets about it, but that's a long story. But
Yes, it's one of his non-history related interests.
He's not very interested in it, but he's
passionate about helping and
right.
save the bats.
Yeah, save the bats. It's very important to him. But like I said, the presentation was a great success, and the Hudson Highlands Museum actually talked about building bat houses to accommodate our little furry friends, and we actually have one on site.
Mm-hmm.
And funny enough, a woman named Barbara Bash, who is a children's book author and illustrator, who wrote a book called The Shadow of the Night: The Hidden World of Bats, if I'm not wrong.
No, you're very close. I think it was specifically like the hidden world of the little brown bat, which
Right,
is not
okay.
exactly Archie's species, but it's so close.
Close enough. But like I said, before this, Archie was just kind of clip art. But after the event, Ms. Bash actually illustrated our current design for Archie. So,
Yes, exactly. So it's a custom illustration. There is no other Archie. Archie is completely an individual. Yeah, we were very excited to have Barbara Bash illustrate that for us. So Sam, since you've been managing these accounts as part of your internship, how would you describe what's it like for you kind of, getting to be Archie?
Oh, it's really fun. So, funny enough, yeah, I mean, like I said, it's not like most internships. I spend a lot of my time actually doing research on the internet, which means I go to websites like Wikipedia and Encyclopedia Britannica and History.com. And, I just browse around for interesting or little-known facts about history. So, one of the best things about starting my internship for the spring semester was that there are a bunch of historic months or history months that
yes.
I was able to actually focus a lot of my content around. So for February, a lot of my posts and tweets were about Black History Month, and for March, I did the same thing for Women's History Month. So it created more of a focused and effective workflow that I could very easily manage, which isn't so hard to do in months like April, where I think the only kind of relevant thing to Archie is Animal Awareness Month.
I think it's endangered. Is it endangered species or?
I think it's like Animal Protection Awareness Month or something like that.
Yes, it's something like that, definitely.
Right. So this month I've been just doing, I've been trying to post some things about Huguenot history that are at least somewhat related to American history too, but it's been a little bit more difficult, but it's still fun. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. What's your favorite part about managing Archie?
My favorite part,
If you have one.
my favorite part, trying to actually get what he wants to say on Twitter in 200 characters.
Oh, yes.
We've talked about this a couple times at the office. Like,
Yes.
before I came to this internship, I wasn't very well versed in Twitter, but you were like, yeah, make sure that they actually fit because that's a big problem. And I was like, okay, well, I'll see about it.
Right.
So, no, it's just fun trying to get all that information in such a concise post. Because we also, when we post on Facebook, we do a lot with getting the full account of what I'm trying to say out, well, what Archie's trying to say out.
Right.
But yeah, it's fun focusing all this kind of research effort into posts that people can internalize and actually, think about. Because like I said, most museums might post not the most interesting content, but Archie is somebody who can make it more interesting for audiences who might not necessarily enjoy history in the way that, academics or he himself would like.
Right. Exactly. So why don't you let me know where people can find Archie online?
Okay, so let me think about this. So you can find Archie at Archie_HHS on Twitter.
Yes.
On Facebook, he is just Archie the Archives Bat. You can find him through obviously searching for him or going to the Historic Huguenot Street Facebook page. And you can also find him on Instagram at Archie, also _HHS. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And if you go to huguenotstreet.org, and there's actually, you won't necessarily find it on the homepage, but if you specifically go to huguenotstreet.org/Archie, ARCHIE, that has honestly a little bio of him and a photo. And it has links to all of his social media accounts and even a link to the plush Archie that we sell in our museum shop because we can't not do that. Yeah, so, well, thank you, Sam, and thank you, Heather, as well. So we're wrapping up now, but listeners can tune in every Thursday at 7:30 p.m. for the rest of the semester at WFNP.org or 88.7 FM to hear more from Historic Huguenot Street. Next week, we'll be discussing the impressive collections the organization preserves with Collections Care Assistant and SUNY New Paltz graduate Caitlin Cummings, and my intern Sam Ruck will be joining us again. In the meantime, do mark your calendars for Saturday, May 7th, when we'll celebrate this year's opening day with a special appearance by the Beekman Boys, Josh Kilmer-Purcell and Brent Ridge. You can register for that meet and greet at huguenotstreet.org/RSVP. Thanks for listening.